people often talk about when they make a film of a book, everyone that read the book has a slightly different take on it. Well, this is even more extreme because everyone that's played with the toy has a belief about what BioNICLE is.
Welcome to the astonishing world of the BioNICLE creative team. These people are a group of exceptional artists who came together to take a bunch of toys and create a fantastical world for them. And on top of that, they then had to figure out how to make each character come alive in this virtual world, each in its own unique way.
For myself, it was my passion for action, adventure, and extreme sports. That's when I feel liberated, that's when I feel free. When you're doing those things, you're 100% focused on one thing. Everything else doesn't matter for a few moments. And I think that's what I hope people are getting a sense of when they're watching the film.
BioNICLE building toys became huge, selling tens of millions. Kids all over the world went wild for these biomechanical creatures, a new set of heroes for a new generation.
The consumers told us that they wanted a movie, and we always from day one envisioned that there would be a movie. So we were really excited when we had the opportunity to actually say that we could go and make a movie.
But making a movie is no simple task. And making a film based on a toy? Well, that's a whole different ball of wax.
I think everybody has a certain expectation for how the voice that they want to hear coming out of their favorite Toa. I think every BioNICLE fan has their favorite Toa. So I really wanted to be true to them, somehow to instill in them a voice that would be believable to the hardcore fans.
Protectors!
Not bad.
Great Kanoe mask. Later.
So they didn't sound like they lived in the United States or in Europe, but that they came from their own world.
Brother, I am thrilled to be here.
Well, couldn't have our first match without the patron of Coley.
Their expressions should come from their own world as well.
Takua, hold your rahi. I'm coming.
When one of the characters almost falls into this volcano, his friend's really angry with him. He says, you could have been lava bones instead of, you could have been killed.
You're alive, Coley head. You could have been lava bones.
Do I speak tree speak?
Ha, not never. If you ride with me, there'll be no foot walking, just air flying.
Only occasionally do I wind fly an air twister. I dream in BioNICLE sometimes, which is pretty scary.
After the writers developed the characters, they came up with their story.
The BioNICLE story is about a reluctant hero who travels across this fantastic world of Maranui, Paradise Island, in search of his destiny.
Safely in the light.
While he will be, forced to face his fears, it's a great adventure.
Once the producers had their script, then they could dig deep into the characters and really get to know them.
You're seeing these characters with personalities, each individual personality, and how they interact with each other.
Once we started creating them and bringing them to life, it's almost like they came to life and started telling us things. You'd be working on the character and you'd go, he would say this. It started to have like a real life to it, a real soul. And that was, to me, one of the biggest surprises. Like, all of a sudden, it started creating itself.
But they had to be really, really careful about keeping BioNICLE, well, BioNICLE.
The biggest consideration I was thinking about was being honest to the loyal fan base we had.
Producers worried about how fans might react to some of the additions that were made to get the characters ready for their close-ups.
The BioNICLE characters are very action-packed. They're doing very exciting things.
The prime function of the character in an animated film is that they can act. We needed to change the models in such a way that they could really act.
For them to be playing Coley or climbing rock walls or doing things without hands would be really, really challenging and limiting. So we needed to give them hands so we could take the characters, who they are, and take them to the next level of performance.
We didn't want to take it 3 steps above, elongate things more. We wanted to just add on top, but not change the basic groundwork that's already been laid.
If you look at how someone speaks and works and communicates in a normal setting, they use their mouth, their eyes, their eyebrows, and their hands to express themselves.
We didn't give them great big giant hands, and we kept them simple, and we're not trying to draw a lot of attention to them, but we're using them the way they should be used.
We did that with the very expressive eyes that we added to the characters, and it's reflecting a sense of emotion.
To bring the characters to life, the producers also needed to find just the right actors with just the right voices.
Number one, you want to get an actor who really can act, not someone who just has a funny voice or an interesting voice, but someone who really can perform.
The biggest rush for me was when we met, first of all, Andrew. He was very responsible, very organized. He came in with a perfectly neat script with hardly any kind of curling at the corners. And he was reading for Takua, who's, of course, irresponsible, which was altogether wrong. So we brought him back in the following day to read against another guy who was auditioning for Jala. This was Jason. Acting! And his jeans were twisted kind of at 45 degrees round. His shirt was buttoned up, I think, the wrong buttons. He came in with a script that looked more like it had been dragged behind a car and through puddles and through the back of a hedge than most. He's here to read for the captain of the guard, the straight, upstanding, responsible one. It took us about 2 minutes to switch them around and make them read the opposite roles, and suddenly they gelled. They really were a buddy act. That was exactly more than we could have hoped for.
You're hopping across lava to look at a stupid warning totem? Do you know what Taraga Vakama would say?
Irresponsible?
Now come on, be right there!
Then, of course, the characters needed to be animated. To bring each character to life, the producers used CGI. That's computer-generated imaging. But before they even got close to a computer, they consulted with the art director who begins this process. Ironically, with old school pencil and paper.
I'm the art director. I'm the one that starts establishing what you're going to see on the film. But I'm more of a traditional painter. So what I do is I have to establish the mood in a traditional sketch. And then that sketch is given to the studio, and they recreate that in a three-dimensional form in the computer.
The making of this movie gives a very new meaning to the word teamwork.
We have the primary production team here in Los Angeles, in Glendale, and then the overseas animation studio in Taipei. We do all the design here. We design up the characters and the environments and the paintings and all the art direction. And then our Taipei studio builds the elements. They build the models, and then they do the physical animation of the characters. So then everything can move quickly. It works very well having the production team in Taipei because their daytime is our nighttime. So they're animating all day long, adding color, special effects, all the work they're doing. They upload it to our special FTP site at night at the end of their day, and we come in right around that time. So then our directors are looking at the footage, our people, and making all the comments and approvals to get them back to Taipei for their next morning.
Approved.
Welcome to 310 Studios.
Once the animation was done, the team hit the edit bay.
The edit bay's crazy.
That's where they cut the actual movie together.
Terry, David, and I sat there, and we've then brought in an outside editor to bring in some fresh eyes. He's great at spotting where we're not being quite clear enough, or where we've got a little bit of work to do, maybe a little piece of dialogue that's missing that would just clarify things, or maybe the order of scenes that we'd thought was right. Storyboard, he's very good at saying, well, you know what, if you just switch that piece here and this piece there, and then suddenly we play it back and it's like, wow, I couldn't see that. You never realize quite how much power the edit room has to change the footage that you have.
Play well.
From toy to major motion picture, it's quite a journey.
I would like people to come away with the thought that there's a hero in all of us.
I'll keep that in mind.
I want them to walk away thinking that, wow, I want to watch it again.
Perfect.
If you have a mission or something you want to achieve, if you just step forward and do it and have the courage and confidence, you'll succeed.
If I really want to do something, I really can.
Coley head, you could have been Makuta Bones.
Could have been, but I'm not.